Hello and welcome to Community Conversations, where this week I am test driving the 2025 Hyundai IONIQ 6, my very first foray into all electric, thanks to Port Hope Hyundai. And I'm going to be joined by Sarah Marshall. April being Be a Donor Month, Sarah Marshall holds the record for the youngest organ donor recipient. We're going to go pick up Sarah, talk about the car, and talk about Sarah's life. Well, Sarah, thank you very much for doing this. We're going to have a great conversation about your life and your story. April, of course, Be a Donor Month, which we know means so much to you.
So my journey started when I was born 5.5 weeks early, back in February of '97. And from there, I was born healthy. Nothing seemed to be wrong until 24 hours and I was puking green bile. So I went to Sick Kids, and that's when they started to realize that I was born with a genetic condition called MMIHS, which is basically the long form of that is megacystic megacolon intestinal hyperperistalsis syndrome, which meant I had a large bladder and my intestines didn't work. So from there, we did a whole bunch of more testing to figure out what was all around that and figuring out what was causing what wasn't working and what was working, so then they could best evaluate. So on August 6th, at 4 o'clock, my family got the call that I was then rushed to London and had my transplant of a stomach, pancreas, liver, bowel. So basically my whole digestive tract has been replaced. So it is definitely unique. As I've gotten older, I've been able to be an advocate and raise awareness and share my story of how my life's changed.
Talk to us about the timing of this when the hospital called and brought you in for the transplant, of having a donor available at that time.
Yeah, so I was critical. I was basically on, as the transplant team said, if it wasn't like within those 48 hours, I was on death's doorstep.
Right.
So basically, the fact that I went from super not sick to critical within 24 hours to them saying, yeah, glad you got the call when you did, because it wasn't going to be nice later on. It was like, oh, okay, guess we're like, this is a good thing then. So yeah, it was definitely a full 360 of everything, and it was kind of like, okay, like, this is happening, and it changed our life forever.
Talk to us about the experience your parents went through and the trauma for them. I mean, having their child have to go through this and see this.
It was definitely a scary moment. There was a lot of fear, anxiety, stress of me going off to surgery and not knowing if I'd come out. Yes, I've had many surgeries, and those were like small little things, but this was a 24-hour surgery, and a life-saving one.
How long were you in hospital before you came back to Coburg?
I came back to Coburg, so I didn't come home until December 1st.
Okay.
So from Sick Kids to London, and first 10 months of my life it was hospitals.
Right.
It was in and out of hospital. Well, in a hospital 24/7.
So obviously not a normal childhood.
Not a normal childhood.
Talk to us about your childhood in Northumberland and Coburg.
My childhood, as I grew up, I wasn't a normal kid. I've never been a normal, as my family put it, normal kid.
Normal's boring.
Normal's boring. So my childhood growing up, it was different than everybody else. I did dance as an activity for me, but also a physical act, like a physiotherapy activity without doing physiotherapy, because I was 5 months early and 5.5 weeks early, basically. Everything was those simple milestones that kids hit at different ages. Mine was 5 years behind, or a couple years behind. So I danced. I did competitive all the way. I went from 5 till 13 doing dance. I used to horseback ride till I fell off a horse.
That might change your mind, right?
That one kind of was like, okay.
At what point, was there a moment when you decided you were going to become an advocate for organ donation, or did it just naturally come to you?
I think for me, it just naturally came because my family always talked about it. So why not just raise the awareness in Coburg as it is, when, yes, I was the only one at the time, but now there's 5 others.
Right, in Coburg.
So why not raise the awareness and be the spokesperson for it, apparently, because it was just something common that my family always did.
Now,
Yeah.
April is Be a Donor Month. Talk to us about what the month of April is like for you as far as Be a Donor Month and events and such here in Northumberland and in Cobourg.
April Be a Donor Month is a little busy. Plus working, it's a little busy.
Right.
So I don't have many events this year because I kind of did the whole I need time to breathe because I have enough going on my plate plus wedding planning this year.
Congratulations,
so,
by the way.
I have enough on my plate, so my other half and I decided to only do certain things. I've done a podcast so far for Be a Donor Month and then your interview. I think I have another radio interview somewhere down the line in the next couple months. I can't remember exactly, but I think that's all I've got really for this year. Be a Donor Month is actually calmer than normal for this year. I am quite okay with it.
Do you feel that here in Northumberland, that legwork that you put in back then had a decent effect on organ donation locally?
Absolutely. For example, home show a couple years ago, there was a girl that came to my booth. She lived here in Cobourg. She was in Toronto. She was listed, and she had liver failure. Well, right from there, it was like, okay, so I'm Sarah. I'm this advocate. I do this. What would you like me to do? Tell me your story, and I will start sharing it, which I did. Months later, or a year later, she got a call.
Right.
So it doesn't seem like I did much, but for it to be a year and she instantly get a call after I've shared her story, I must have done something. I must have spread enough awareness to give people, hey, let's see what we can do to help.
What has the Northumberland community meant to you growing up and being here and being a part of this community?
I love this community. It is everybody, especially me, everybody knows me. Scary. Everybody knows me from either my family or my grandparents because they all grew up here, but they also know me because of my story, because I was the poster kid, I was the transplant recipient, I was the donor poster child.
Right.
You walk into a hospital, that's Sarah. They knew me from something.
And of course, over the years too, I mean, care here has gotten better.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely technology and stuff here locally, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Especially with the small town hospital, it's definitely like a nice thing, especially when my hospital knows me.
One more thing before we wrap up our conversation. What message would you have right now to somebody watching that is on the fence of signing up to be an organ donor?
You're 5 times more likely to actually need a transplant than to donate, which people actually find very scary. It's a very scary thing. Sign up. It takes, as I said, it takes 2 minutes. 2 minutes that you can really tie your shoes.
Right.
You never realize that later on in life you can save someone's life, because one person saves 8 lives.
That is incredible.
One person can save 8 lives, and at the end of the day, it makes a huge difference.
You can save 8 lives. Sarah, thank you very much.
No problem.
Always a pleasure talking to you.
Always a pleasure talking to you too, York.